Hello, this is Tony Pavlovich with Instructomania, and I'm going to run you through the code hacker lesson that I did in class today. It worked really well. My students loved it. They got to work with groups, which was nice, and they did some great learning. Today I did the Empires of Islam code hacker, but of course they're all the same when we have one for each unit. It took them about 35 to 55 minutes, depending on the strength of their group, and I put them in groups of 4 to 6, which I think initially worked well. As I continue doing the code hackers with each unit, I may make the group smaller, eventually going down to an individual lesson. But initially, I think 4 to 6 is best. Next, I'm going to be showing you what's included in the folder and how to use the resources. All right, you'll see there are 5 documents in the folder. The first one is the teacher directions, which are over to the right. And then I also have the resource map there. The resource map will be all the resources that the students are going to use in order to get the answers to the questions, which they're going to answer in the Google form, which is 3. I'm going to be showing you both those in just a second, but just for your own information, both 2 and 3 is what you're going to assign to the students. That is also in the teacher directions here. It says document 3 and 2 will be what you're going to assign to your students. Of course, if you're going to do this in a traditional classroom, you'd probably print the resources so that the students have access to them in print. Otherwise, you could just give them to them in your Google Classroom. The fourth thing is definitely an optional activity. It's for the students who finish early. They can tell you what they'd spend their $1 billion on from opening the chest first. It's provided in Google, and also it can be printed, and they can draw what it is they would buy with their $1 billion. It's a fun get-to-know-you activity, and I thought it was great for students who finished early. And lastly, probably most importantly, is the answer key. I kept the answer key handy all day long for students who had questions I was able to quickly answer. All right, first I'd like to show you resource number 2, which is on the right-hand side, and 3, which is the response validation form they're going to use to type in their answers. Firstly, on the resources, you'll see that the student directions are at the top. I read these with my students, and then I showed them the resources. And you'll see there's page 1 here, and there are 4 resources on this page, and there are 4 resources on this page. They're only going to be doing 7 of the 8 resources, so they'll only be using 7 of the 8 resources provided. That's so they don't frantically start using the resources and wasting time. On the left side, you'll see the code hacker response validation form. You'll see that it starts off with asking them their first name and their last name and the period. If there's something else you wanted to add, you could easily do that by doing that plus sign. Once they've entered that, they'd be able to go to the next section. So a new screen will show, right? The next screen will be a decipher the code, and it says use the resource on page 1 in the southwest corner. So if we look to the right, page 1 is here, southwest corner, it says decipher the code, which is the same heading, but also if we use this little compass on the bottom here, you'd see it's in the southwest corner. All right, so I'm just going to read the first set of directions for you so you get the idea. It says use the logograms to uncover the code. Each number will reveal an achievement. List the achievement in order. Do not use capitals and place a space between each word. Look at the apple pictured above. Okay, so they would look at the apple and they'd figure out, sooner or later that the logogram, what the picture is actually of, the first letter is what they're going to use. So this is apple, first letter is A. They look at the decipher the code, and they'd see that this first one is igloo, which is I, sun S, lips L, apple A, mermaid M. Islam is the first word. They would type in Islam. Then, of course, they would have to do a space because it says to put a space in between each one. And they do the second word, third word, and fourth word. Once they've done all 4 of those and they're spelled correctly, it would accept their answer, and they would see the next screen, which is crossword for a code. In crossword for a code, they would use the do the crossword, and they'd put in their answers. There. When they were done, it would accept their answer, and they would be able to go to the next one, which is a map lesson, navigation for the code. Basically asks them where the animal is. In the Arabian Sea, which animal is there, and in Egypt and Mecca, Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea, for example, they put which animal is where, type in the animals with a space in between. They did that right, they'd go to the next thing, which is unlock the evidence. They would read the paragraph for unlock the evidence and choose the best claim for that paragraph, the best evidence that supports that claim, and the best reasoning. All they do is put a multiple choice answer, so A, B, C, or D for each of the answers. So it would be a 3-letter answer with a space in between, and then they can move forward. The next one's pretty simple, and that is what do you see? They're basically putting what it is they don't see in the primary sources and or pictures. So since an astrolabe is not seen here, they'd put in 12, just only the number that they didn't see, and they'd be able to move on. What is in a quote? This one is probably the most challenging one, and there is a resource included in the answer key for students that you can give to students that is a chart that helps them to understand how it all works. But if you look at the example here, it says, what is in a quote? And that's a 14-character question. And you'll see the second character is 2, that's an H. And the fifth character is an I. And then the 13th character is a T. Well, if you do 2, 5, and 13, that would spell hit. Likewise, the 38th character, when we look at the code here, right? The 38th character I know, because I just did this with my class, is I. And the 112th character is S, and then L, A, M. They would write in the word that's hidden in there, and as soon as they got that correctly, they'd be able to move on. Again, this is the most challenging one, I would say, but once they get it, it's fairly easy, and there is a scaffolded little chart if you'd like to give them that. Word being for a code and match for the code are both vocabulary based. They either fill in the blank, as this is done here with the words that are given to them in the bars up there, up the top, or they match for vocabulary. I found these to be pretty straightforward and easy. They have to put the letters in, and they have to put a space between each one, and once they're done, they move on. Lastly, they've cracked the code, and once they've cracked the code, you know that it's graded, and it's done. You're done with the lesson. One final thing I'm going to show you is the answer key. On the answer key, I give hints and, of course, the answers. Again, keep this handy, and I think you'll be able to navigate your students out of any frustration. And one more thing I wanted to show you was that chart, which would help the students navigate any answers for the what is in a quote. This worked great today. I hope you guys have as much success at it as I did. And I hope you have a great year. Thanks so much for supporting us over here at Instructomania. Take care.